Hello everyone, Heris again. This is Atlantis Squarepantis Bus Rush. What a name. I have fun memories of this game. It's an interesting combination of arrow keys for basic navigation and minigames that are controlled entirely with the mouse. I wonder, what actually happens if I just let the fuel meter run down to 0? Today we will discover. Nothing. Very cool. Alright, you'll notice quite immediately that the display in this game is very unconventional. The whole inner quarter of the screen is occupied by this big kinetic animation of the bus. The sprite that I actually control is microscopic in comparison, and I slowly weave my way around the perimeter of the giant graphic in the middle. This 2-display setup does look cool. It's memorable anyway. But from a game design standpoint, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, why dedicate such a huge amount of screen real estate to an animation that's not at all necessary for the gameplay? The bus is actually a bit difficult to see, as it's squished into a small portion of the screen. It was even worse playing this on Nick.com back in the day, because Nick didn't even support full screen for browser games, so it would be the game window within the web page within your browser window. Try playing that on the shitty ancient 540p CRT that I used to use. So, these mini-games are the main actual gameplay of the game. They're controlled entirely with the mouse, which is cool, but it's all contained within this little window in the middle. Now that I think about it, this design choice makes even less sense. At least when I'm moving the bus, the inner display actually displays something. The bus animation doesn't do anything important, but it's cool to look at least. And the clever use of negative space somewhat justifies this weird snaking path that we're taking. I go all of the way around the screen and end up back on the left, almost exactly where I started. So in that way, the 2D display kind of works when I'm controlling the bus. But during the mini-games, there is literally no reason to restrain the game to just this one small frame in the middle. The outer frame doesn't even show anything moving. It's just the same static frame of the overworld. The designers could have easily increased the size of the mini-games to cover the whole game window, and nothing of value would have been lost. I'd just be able to see the game a lot more clearly, and have an easier time clicking the small targets. Anyway, I didn't intend for this to turn into a whole long rant. The design choices in this game are just so bizarre. My original plan with this game was to complete every minigame on the overworld, but I'm pretty sure that that's not possible. I did some quick back-of-the-napkin math, and it seems that I'd run out of fuel before I'm able to defeat every obstacle, so I've settled for the much more modest goal of collecting every green music note. I like how each character has their own minigame. SpongeBob throws the shells to break the rocks, Patrick uses the fishing rod to break up the jelly critters, and Sandy pushes the bus free from the tangle of kelp. You know what? I'm going to risk it. I thought I was going to run out of fuel, but I think that I can just make it if I go back for that last coin. We're so close to completion. Wow, Squidward, that was some impressive clarinetting. You filled up the whole bus in like 2 seconds. That's some musicsmanship worthy of Kelpie G. I think that the warped sound of the music was supposed to represent that the music was sped up. Like, that was a 2-minute musical montage that we watched in 2 seconds. But Squidward's musical notes didn't sound sped up at all. They just sounded even more out of tune than they usually are. Watch me get this first try. Got it. The massive 2-second time save. That's going to be called Heris cycle. Hey, where's Sandy? Oh crap, did we leave her at the rest stop? Well, that leaves SpongeBob to push the bus. SpongeBob, who is known to be the weakest character. Great choice there, team. And really, what is up with these jelly critters? Are they mating on top of my bus? I do believe so. You know what? I'm not going to ask why. I'm just going to keep moving. I love how completely different the perspectives of the two displays are. On the big center display, the bus is turning quickly and zipping all over the place. It looks like it could be going 100 meters per second. At the same time, the small bus on the outer display is chugging along a few pixels at a time. It appears to be going at a much slower, safer speed. Now that I think about it, is this the same maze geometry as in the earlier level? Hey, future Heris here. I put the levels side by side, and I figured it out. They do look similar, but not because they're the same. Several parts of level 2 are actually the mirror image of the corresponding parts of level 1. Look at the bottom of the screen. These two parallel reefs appear first on the right, then on the left. The other corner is also mirrored. Both levels have these two coins that are closed off behind the kelp. Both levels have similarly placed purple flapping doors on the top. On the left middle, the arrangement of coral and rocks looks similar between both levels. Though it's not quite the same, the symmetry somewhat breaks down in the middle, possibly because they chose to place the start and the exit on the left in both cases. So yeah, they just mirrored a few parts of the map and placed the items in various different places to make the levels look sufficiently different. I'll admit, it's a clever way to get extra use out of a small number of game assets. I didn't notice it until I played the game several times. Is all of this purple debris around the road supposed to be clamshells? Because if so, that is a heck ton of dead clams. Was there a clam Armageddon here? I'd prefer not to be driving through a massive body dump. Interestingly, none of these discarded mollusk carcasses appear in the center display. If you look when the bus is rounding a corner or sitting idle in a dead end, there's only green kelp on all sides. You know what? I figured it out. The display in the middle is the video that they use to promote the bus route. This bus charter company, whoever they are, they carefully position the camera right above the bus to keep the decimated clams just barely out of sight. It looks like much more of an idyllic rural route. Alright, Evidently, this game isn't as great as I had remembered it being. That seems to be a recurring theme on this channel. It's just the same 3 minigames, over and over and over. I think that's the type of door that only rotates in one direction, and it won't move at all if I stay in place and block it. The way that he looks at me. Yes, Patrick, you did a good job. Oh, I think that I'm just going to make it. And look at how many obstacles I didn't break. Gotta go fast! I made it. It looked like I ended up almost exactly where I started, but hey, I made it! Oh hi, Sandy. Glad you were able to catch up. Perhaps she rode on a rock like a true pioneer. And Patrick's arm is completely sticking out of the frame. He cannot be contained. Alright, I realize that I barely talked about the actual minigames. I went on a lot of different tangents. So, let's do that. Let's have me talk about minigames. Patrick's game is the most challenging, if you can call it that. These jelly critters are quite small, and I have to click on them one by one. And this game has a second step, unlike the others. I have to flick the mouse to pull the jelly critters away. No part of this game is difficult. Like, at all. But if your main goal is to beat the minigames quickly, then Patrick's game is definitely the one with the most potential for slip-ups and for optimizations. And actually, that is technically the goal of the game, to move quickly. I want to get through before my fuel runs out. How many times can I miss that one? I just felt like toggling that, you know? When I'm not going out of my way to collect coins and green notes, I do drive into the Medusozoans more often than not. Unlike a rock or some kelp, they can move into my way to block me. The rock game is super simple, of course. I just click repeatedly to throw, and the targets are nice and big. I like how the rocks cast a shadow that disappears as I break them. And Sandy's game is the simplest of all. I just wave the mouse back and forth quickly. That's it. The small area of the minigame window doesn't even inhibit me in any way. It's somewhat ironic that the smartest character gets the task that's mechanically the simplest. I think that they should have implemented some kind of mechanic to make the minigames more challenging as the player progresses. It could be something simple. Perhaps more jelly critters would appear if you take too long to disperse them. Later kelp patches could have more strands of kelp that require one to shake the mouse faster or for longer. Different instances of the rock minigame could have more rocks, or they'd appear in different formations. Really, anything to make the minigames feel less repetitive and identical would be great. Wow, so I can make it all of the way to the end of the first level, while going out of my way to collect the wrong notes. Now that I think about it, a lot of the fuel that I get from the green notes is actually wasted, because I have to break rocks to get to several of those notes. Patrick looks funny as always. He's so out of proportion, too. Why is he so much bigger than SpongeBob? Yeah, the SpongeBob render is a recognizable one from the pizza episode, but someone had to make that art of Patrick, I suppose, and it just looks a little bit off. Alright, thank you for watching.